the pressure when you're coaching is immense. I never expected it to go and become the beast that it has become. It is rules. There's a rule book. Observe the damn rules.
But I'm going to talk about Rohit, Virat and MS Dhoni. The kind of pull they have got in this tournament through Mumbai Indians, CSK and RCB is unimaginable.
Abriya.
Hi, hello and welcome back to Kutti Stories with Ash, brought to you by Peter Engand. And today's guest is someone who can actually intimidate me in front of the camera. He's got a voice of his own. He's coached me. He's also spoken about my cricket. Has been wonderful. And I don't know how I'm going to turn this side. Ravi Bhai, welcome on the show. Thank you so much for doing it.
Pleasure, Ash.
Ravi Bhai, before I get into the whole rigor, I just want to ask you something to start off. Are you a commentator or a coach? What would you rather prefer, Ravi Bhai?
You put me on the spot straight away, but I like challenges. I think the pressure when you're coaching is immense. So I would put that.
Coaching.
Especially when it comes to the rewards you get and the sacrifices you got to make. After playing the game, I think it's coaching. Broadcasting is different. It's more enjoyment. You go with the pace of the game. I mean, you don't prepare. It's what you guys do out there that make me speak. So it's different.
It's storytelling in many ways.
It is. And the difference in playing the game, you have the bat ball in your hand. When you broadcast, you got the mic in your hand. When you coach and you guys are out on the field, I can only twiddle my thumbs. And that's when the fun part, starts. When you get angry, you get frustrated, you get, those kind of things.
Right, Ravi, there are 3 rounds today. I'll take you through very briefly towards it. The first round is Reminisce with Ash, where we'll be talking about some of the stories. Some of those things that I've learned from you and also been in awe over the years. The second one is a gentleman's league question. A lot of spirit of cricket is being raised up. We'll address it there. And the final is where I'll ask you a few rapid fire questions with options on turning over something in your life. That's DRS with Ash. So we'll jump straight away to the first one. It's Reminisce with Ash. I've got Ravi Bhai here with me to talk some wonderful stories. Ravi Bhai, you said that you enjoy coaching because of the challenges and pressure it gives you. But what I want to begin with, Ravi Bhai, is the fact that you come up with so many in-line comments when you're on the commentary box. So the recent one I saw and I was like laughing it off was the one in the South Africa Test series. We got bowled out and you just came up with something like, if you had gone up for a dump, then you've missed India's batting. Where do you come up with it? Is it instinct, experience, or is it just a wit that you've got?
That's exactly what I said. It has to be spontaneous. You can't prepare these lines because if you do, you're going to mess it up at time of delivery. So it has to come just at that time. And on the spur of the moment, there needs to be something happening. And when something happened that quick, because I've done years of commentary, but I've never seen 6 wickets falling without a run being added. So you had to say something out of the ordinary.
Right. You were a player. Of course, a lot of people now remember you for what you're doing on the commentary box. You behind the mic before the start of a game. For example, every IPL game, you come up with something that's new. Is it to do with preparation, or how do you really go about it? Do you prepare for every game, or is it just the experience that's carrying you on?
Preparation is very important. You can't just take things for granted. You got to respect what you're doing and respect the profession you're in. But along the way, with the exposure I've had, and it's for almost 25 years, broadcasting around the globe with various, television channels and production houses. So you're in that position where you feel you can improvise on the spur of the moment. And it's the need of the hour, it's the demand. Otherwise, the job becomes mundane. People will start flicking channels. You want to keep them in there. Once that thing is going on, the last thing you want is when you're speaking for them to, switch to another channel. So that's the challenge as a broadcaster.
You spoke about challenges as a broadcaster, but you were a wonderful player before you became a broadcaster. In fact, you switched over much earlier than most of the players do these days. How did it happen? Did you want to become a broadcaster? How did it happen? Just take us through.
I didn't have a clue in 6 months before I retired what I would do. I just didn't have a clue. Yes, I was a radio buff, so I used to listen to a lot of radio commentary around the world, whether it was ABC, BBC, you knew the voices, you knew the the style of television.
Anyone that's really inspired you from?
Oh, plenty. There was, when it came to radio, you had Alan McGilvray, you had Lindsay Hazard, you had John Alec, you had Brand Johnson, you had Christopher Mann Jenkins later, Tony Cozier.
Yes,
the
best.
I mean, Tony Cozier was that crystal clear. Like if I was on the 49-meter band and I wanted BBC after tea, that was the one band you would get it on. 31 would go in and out. Drives through the covers and that crystal clear voice of Tony Cozier, you knew you hit it. So it was not this thing, it was the voice and that clarity that made you just, hang in there and say, that's the channel. So it was, these were the guys who really inspired.
The moment you said Tony Cozier, I felt Tony Cozier actually possessed you for a second. They talk about actors trying to, act in front of the mirror. They do it and they try to, impersonate the character they're into. Have you ever done anything like that?
No, I would, in my free time, way before I became a commentator, I would practice lines, I would be watching, I would switch off the mic and do my own comment.
Oh, wow.
At times.
Even when you were playing?
Yeah, later on, when I was playing also, at times I just switch it off and say, I would have heard it, Tony Gregg saying it, how would I say it? And then mix match, things of that sort and see how it goes. But I'm a great believer. The more you do it, the more comfortable you get. You need that kind of exposure. You need to work with different, directors, different producers. They all have different styles, the way they cut, what they come to. So, it takes time, but then it's fun.
Okay, now we are in the flavor of the season. The IPL is here. I'll be seeing you around in different places and glasses and coolers all over the season this time. But 2008, it began, Ravi Bhai. You've been a broadcaster all along. In between, you took a break, of course, for coaching for the Indian team. How did you see the IPL in 2008? How was it panned out over the last 16 years? You must have seen it really grow underneath your...
Yeah, I was up close and personal because I was on the governing council. When I got a call to go and meet Lalit, it was in London because there were a lot of players, agents and players who were coming to meet. They wanted to know more about the IPL. Lalit had called them. And, likes of Stephen Fleming, I remember was there. There was Shane Warne's agent, if I'm not mistaken. Offlem was representing him. There were 3-4 of the guys there when I reached there. And this was on the back of the ICL,
yes,
which created a lot of controversy. So, the moment I walked in there, and I remember, and these guys were sitting there for 2 hours, having a chat, Lalit trying to convince. And I'd got the drift of it just a week before as to how it's going to be run, who's going to be involved, what are the stakeholders, and how is the international community going to look at it. And I was very clear this is going to fly. So when I went in there, I think it was one of the guys, they asked me, Rab, what do you think? I said, just go blind. Just get in there because this will fly because it has got all the boards involved. There's international flavor. It's done properly. It's got the hand of BCCI on it as a domestic tournament and you can't go wrong. Now, when I said it'll fly, I thought it'll do really well, but I never expected it to go and become the beast that it has become. In fact, 3 years down the line when it started, you're saying 2008, 2011, it was a case study in Harvard, as to how a sporting property that's just started could get into the top 6 in the world to compete with FIFA, Olympic Games, Formula One, NFL, NBA. It was mind-boggling, how it happened, but it just happened. And what, for me, was the icing on the cake was when it shifted to South Africa, just 2 years later.
2009.
And then for it to still be a success and pull in crowds, then this is here to stay.
But you said that it is here, you thought it would fly and it's just taken off to become a beast. We all know that Indian cricket fans are one of the greatest assets the game has got. But it's got in the family, right, Ravi? I mean, there's so much new crowd that's coming into the game. If you had to pick one pivotal point to say, this is the reason it's actually become a beast, what would that be?
I think entertainment. When you got the entertainment factor into it, you just saw the kind of crowds that came in for an IPL game. You see the crowds that come in for Test cricket, you see the crowds that come in for one-day cricket, but the cross-section of society that you see in an IPL game or, in the tournament is You won't see it anywhere. You got the advertising crowd, you got the banking crowd, you got the corporate sector involved there, and you got families, like you mentioned. You got women. What amazed me was the number of women that came with their kids and families to watch the game, because you had that entertainment touch to it. Let's make no mistake, Bollywood did play a part.
Of course.
For them coming in there, it was the ideal match and mix between cricket and Bollywood and the entertainment part of it. And the bottom line for me, which is the main reason for it to succeed, was the quality of cricket. If you didn't have the quality of cricket, you wouldn't have had those close matches. It showed that your domestic strength was very good when you had 8 teams at that time, 56 domestic players getting an opportunity to play on a world stage, literally, with the IPL going to 190 countries at that time, way over 200 now. And you knew it was going to, it had come to stay, but it was the quality and then the international flavor. So even though the players might have come thinking that it's one big party, in the first year or second year, suddenly they realize, this is here. We can make a career for ourselves. The franchise owners have become much smarter. They know what to expect from the players. They know how much to bid. It's market forces that decide. There are no selectors there. You can't blame a selector for not picking you, one guy going at 25 and the other guy going at 10. It's market forces. So it revolutionized the game. Just like Kerry Packer did it in our time, in our early playing days.
That was going to be winning.
Yeah, what he did with colored clothing, people were laughing at that time. But he had the vision. He had the, that vision to see where cricket can go in the future. And I think with the IPL, that's exactly what happened.
There is no better person than you to ask this question. You spoke briefly about Kerry Packer and the IPL. Some massive synergies there.
Oh, massive.
What happened at the Kerry Packer? You guys, around about the same time you won the competition in Australia, and you were driving back the car, of course.
Yeah.
What was it like then, and how different was it? Or you saw completely the same thing happening?
No, completely different. He changed the mindset because it was white flannels, chasing a red ball, gentleman's game, as in the Collins dictionary, defined and described to the T. And he came and just caught the bull by the horns and shook the hell out of it and said, colored clothing. It was called pajama cricket by the British press at that time. He didn't care a damn. He said white ball, under lights, and that's why that tournament you mentioned was the first one that came into India, under lights, in colored clothing, day-night cricket. And suddenly you saw the same crowds that would come during the day are different at night. The entertainment, they come after work, the game's faster. The rules have changed, with people in the circle and outside the circle. It demanded entertainment. And that's exactly what they got with Kerry Packer's cricket, and then you got to evolve with the times. 50 overs became boring after a while. So, they said, let's try the 20 over stuff. And I think what was the catalyst there was India winning the 2007, the T20 World Cup. So that fired the interest even more. Just like when we won it in 83, it captivated the imagination of, everyone. And again, 2011. So, and the game has to evolve. And I'm glad it's happened the way it has. And I'm glad must be one of the only sport where all 3 facets of the game can survive.
As it?
There'll be, if properly handled, all 3
you can make, okay.
Yeah, you've got to cut down the volume. Test cricket can be test cricket, big time, the ultimate purist. Still space for a one-day cricket, 50, which I think can be 40 in the future. And then T20 can stay the way it is, with more franchise cricket rather than bilateral.
Bilaterals. T20 has a space for franchise cricket.
Yeah, and just play it like the football world.
You spoke about franchise cricket briefly, and that's where I'm headed next. We have the Ranji Trophy, which you've been playing for so many years. You guys just won the 42nd title. Yeah. Congratulations on that.
Yeah.
We've just shifted over to another 8-10 team competition in the T20 league. Yet, you find rousing reception for most of these teams. For example, a Mumbai Indians team goes to Bangalore. They've got Mumbai Indian supporters there. A CSK goes to Mumbai, and there is a sea of yellow in the crowd. How do you see all this, Ravi? I mean, why do you think this has happened? And what is one rivalry in the IPL that's really stood out for you?
No, it tells you the kind of manner in which the cities have involved, the main metros. So if you look at Mumbai today, it's not only Maharashtrians. You have people from all over the country working here
Absolutely.
as professionals. So and each one will be drawn to one particular team. It's like we Indians, we might go to the United States of America or this, but when there's an India match in Australia, they'll come in tons and they're not going to wear the yellow color jersey. They'll wear the blue.
Of course.
So similarly here, there will be support for Chennai. There'll be a lot of people from Mumbai working in Chennai. And if you go across the country, it's spread out nicely. So you get the support, but then of course the players also make it happen. If that team has the has the flair, it has the flamboyance, it has the ability to win tournaments, you'll get a following. You'll definitely get a following.
You spoke about the following. You've been a broadcaster. You've also been a coach. You do your job without any differences or bias towards a certain team. That's something that I always admired. But nevertheless, is it possible to, say, okay, this is a game I'm looking forward to in the IPL. I really want to be there. You tell yourself something like that?
It comes naturally to me where I'm just, drawn away and I want to see the competition.
Huh?
I want to see the competition. I want one team to win, but I want a tight match.
Irrespective of who's playing.
Irrespective. Especially when there are star-studded players on both sides. You want it to be, yes, when you have that edge is, when India is playing. At times,
So you lose it on the edge when India...
not lose it on the edge. You try and keep that away.
Okay.
Keep that away, like a World Cup final. As much as you want to be drawn away, you might be sucked in as well. But then, people who are watching are not fools. They know what's happening. And we have more experts in our country than anywhere else.
Of course.
They know exactly, what line you're taking. So, as long as you speak on the subject, on what's happening, it's a fair game. And then I'm comfortable, with players, with umpires, with officials, with broadcasters. I'm easy. I don't have an axe to grind because once I go there, I never have personal agenda dictating the way I speak. It's on what you see, you say.
You see something and you call it.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to talk about 3 Indian legends that have made the IPL what it is today. They've done it over the last decade or so. Of course, I might leave some people out. I'm leaving Sachin Tendulkar out of it. But I'm going to talk about Rohit, Virat and MS Dhoni. The kind of pull they have got in this tournament through Mumbai Indians, CSK and RCB is unimaginable.
Yeah.
To a point where people are, you've seen on social media, calling, saying, I want to play for this particular team.
Yeah.
What do you think of their contributions to this league and in large to the Indian cricket?
Fantastic. I think massive contributors. And don't forget, all these players have been able to do that because they were top Indian cricketers. They did that for the nation first. So they carved a niche with the people who identified them the way they played for their country. Then when they went to a franchise, it was different. Then obviously their style of play came into play. Their style of leadership came into play. How they took the team along, what they brought onto the field. What kind of personalities were they? Dhoni, Rohit, very similar. Calm, collected, masters in what they do. And very, very successful. One has won it 4 times, the other has won it 5 times. 5 and 5, yeah. And Virat, on the other hand, is he might not have won the IPL, but what he brings in is again different. There's energy. He's in your face. The quality of batsmanship in one or two of those IPLs have been outstanding. So, people don't forget that. Plus, in that team, there was De Villiers. There was Chris Gayle. So suddenly the following for that team again went up. And when you look at Mumbai, look at Chennai, they've always had players that have been very experienced and they've been very consistent. So then the following, really comes. So the contribution has come primarily because of these personalities, experts in that format of the game. And each one of them, if down the line in their careers, would have been number 1 in that format, one of the top 2 in whatever he did. Dhoni consistently at number 6 and a keeper right up there. Rohit right up there, the top, and Virat at 3. You can't take that away. And when the quality of what you play is that big, then it's
Right. I mean, there is this sport or entertainment called WWE. I'm sure you've heard.
yeah.
The Rock goes to act and he comes back and says, The Rock is back home. And that's exactly how I feel when you coached and you came back. It felt like you came back home. But however, your style of coaching, which I'm privy to, and your personality really suits an IPL management. And I somewhere thought you were in line to do something. Is that something that you would entertain, Ravi? Are you excited by that?
Not really. Not after doing India for 7 years. Yeah, you never know what can come up in the future and how involved you might want to get. There's no doubting the experience you have and what you can bring to the table. But after 7 years with the Indian team, and especially those times when you were there, it was the toughest time the game has seen since the Second World War. And COVID and quarantines and bubbles. You just wanted a break from the dugout and the dressing room and everything. So the broadcasting, the mic gave me the freedom to express myself again and, have some fun. But you don't rule out that because once you've been involved with the game and you want to contribute to the game and you wanted to contribute to the youth, then that will always linger in your mind. It's not just the money part of it, it's also the contributing factor. How you can, get into the heads of the young kids and pass on whatever knowledge you have before you forget it yourself.
And the reason I asked you was my first interaction with you as a senior cricketer, director, whatever, was in 2014 when you joined the team in England. And I was a youngster at that point of time. And now IPL is one stage where youngsters from different pockets of the country are coming through. Those youngsters, especially the way you talk and how you can make them feel $1 million, I just used to wonder if this and this would come together and converge for a good wedding.
Yep, absolutely. In fact, that's the reason I said before, to you that if I ever go there, it'll be precisely for that reason. Not to see the superstars carrying on the way they are, but to cultivate, groom, identify talent and, take them through the roof. And I'll enjoy it in particular because the spread is so much these days where they have complexes, they have, language barriers, they have challenges culturally. And then to get them in the mix, get them together to play ruthless cricket, fearless cricket is my cup of tea. So never discount that. It would always be the case, especially when there are youngsters around.
When you're assembling a team to handle everything around, like you had a team, yourself, Arun, Sridhar, all of you worked like hand in glove. How critical is that facet of a team? Even when you get to an IPL team, is it important to have the same sort of camaraderie?
Absolutely. If I get anywhere involved at any stage in anything of this sort, I'll need a team. Where I have the freedom, I have the confidence to delegate.
Is it a trust issue?
It is trust. It is trust. Without trust, there's nothing that can happen. And the same with the dressing room. You have to cultivate that trust, where then you start playing as a team and not as individuals. That's when the fun game starts. In team sport, it's team culture that overrules individual brilliance. And if you can get 8 brilliant individuals to play together as one team, that's champion. That's real champion stuff. Not easy because egos, jealousy factors, it's sport. It's natural. It'll come. They have selfishness. They all have their advantages. But how you can channel those energies in the right direction where the team prospers is what you want. Because I don't want 10 individuals who are the same. I need people to think laterally. Like, that's why I enjoyed your company because, you were in a space cadet. You were right up there. You shot from there. Not many understood what you were saying, but then that was our job. To get into their wavelength so that they could come into your wavelength area and understand. And then you get a Rishabh Pant, who comes from, just comes in, you look at him and you think,
how do you deal with him?
Yeah, cheeky little guy, who just come in and, dictating terms to all the big boys as this is how it should be played. And it's refreshing. So you must strike the right balance. And you need that mix to have fun in the dressing room as well. Otherwise, it can be a very serious and a boring game. Our jobs can become boring as well.
Sorry, Ravi, I have to interrupt here. I still remember this conversation you had with Rishabh in Chennai when we were playing the test. When you said Rishabh, he's a very unique character and a unique guy. He's very special. And he kept tonking Jack Leach over the top. And you were having a chat with him the next day and you said, "Arey yaar, chotu, idhar mat marna yaar, reverse sweep marna." I'm like, Ravi Bhai has never said that. You probably come to us and say, grind it out and all that. What prompts you to say that? Is it understanding of a certain character? Or what is it?
Absolute. Because I knew if I tell him don't play it, that's against his nature. He might play it even more. So I told him, I'm bored, you're getting out in the same fashion. It was actually to Nathan Lyon in Sydney. When he batted brilliant.
And he got out.
90, and he slogged one up there and he came and he was sitting. And then the second new ball was taken and Puji hit 7 boundaries. So when I went to the loo, he was still sitting in the dressing room alone with his pads on. So I looked at him. What? I said, all your runs Puji is scoring. 7, he's hit 7 boundaries in half an hour. Puji, 7 in half an hour. And then he said, you're boring me at playing this. I said, ulta bhi marna, reverse. You're getting out like this only, na? और खतरनाक फैशन में आउट हो जाए रिवर्स स्वीप रिवर्स मार ये हुआ ना बात ही सेट no, this is what you're telling.
You think that is the wavelength that taps into certain individuals?
100%. Because their mindset and thinking is different from someone else. And each individual could be different. I can't go and tell Puji that. Your buddy. Puji, reverse sweep, look at me like that.
What would you tell him, for instance?
Puji, just carry on. I mean, see, it's his strength. And he's shown it on multiple tours. So, it's understanding an individual. Each one is different. Is, I think, the biggest challenge for a coach.
Last question before we dive into the next segment. It's going to go through briefly from now on. You've seen so many years of IPL now. The edition of each edition has produced some new things for us to learn about. But there have been a couple of rules that have come into the game. And one of those rules has been the 2 bouncer rule that's come in. And recently we had the impact player rule that's come in. Has it made the game more exciting, or what do you think of it?
See, I played in an era where 6 were allowed. And I believe that physical factor is important, to really judge top-class players. Because, in the era till the 2 bouncers came, guts was needed by a lot of players to score. I mean, look at the pre-helmet days, the guys who batted.
Just keep bouncing.
Uncover. Yeah, he could bowl 6. And then and the over rate would drop down to 11, 12. There was, nothing of that sort. So it has its advantages, but I would like to see there always be a challenge between bat and ball. What I hate is one-way traffic in any of the formats of the game. There has to be a challenge, and that physical element has to be there. Because and today with helmets, the protective gear that you have with the visors and this thing, I think that the challenge should only increase a little more.
The impact player rule.
Impact player is good. You have to evolve with the times. It happens in other sport as well. It's got tighter finishes. You have to evolve with times. And I think it's a good rule. You saw the number of tight finishes we had in last year's IPL. So it's made a big difference.
A lot of people talk to me about the impact player rule and say, okay, you know what, it's cutting the all-rounders down. But on the other hand, it's produced somebody like a Dhruv Jurel.
Yeah.
Who might have not played for India.
Yeah.
So I think there is a mix and match between.
It'll always be. When any new rule comes in, there will be, people will try and justify why that's not right. But in time, when you see the scores 200, 190, and then, like you mentioned, individuals grabbing that opportunity and making the most of it, people will start relooking at how they think about it.
We must understand that instead of 7 Indians, 8 Indians are getting a chance to play in that because of that.
Yeah. See, there you're thinking. Or many would have thought in that fashion.
Yeah. It is an opportunity for another youngster.
Absolutely.
And there have been several youngsters who've sat out and not got an opportunity in the past.
Yeah.
Anyway, that brings us to the end of this particular segment, where the next segment is Gentleman's League's question, and it's brought to you by Peter Engand. Where you spoke briefly about gentlemen, right? And when we speak about gentlemen, it's largely constituted to how people play on the field and how they shake their hands off, how they probably, laugh, smiling at another player. You spent a fair amount of it off it as well. But yet, you've been around the game. What are the off-field behaviors that constitute a gentleman of the game?
Leave what's happened on the field. On the field. Off-field, you got to be man enough. To walk up to the person, either even if he smashed you, say, well done. Even if he's given you a nice little spiel in the proper way on the field, say that's fair enough, part and parcel. I would hate a game there where nothing is said. I like the noise. I really like the noise. And it's gamesmanship. It could be aggression. And with me, it improved my language. My vocabulary improved. When I got that stuff coming my way. And at a very young age, I knew if you got it, give it back. It suited me. It allowed me to concentrate that bit harder.
And got the better of it.
And got the better out of me. Yet at times it can, distract someone. So, each guy should know his strengths, how it can affect you, not affect. But I think that's taken too far at times. You need a little bit. If I'm a match referee, I'll allow a lot of that to happen and go under this. People might say, you're not saying, I say, come on, man, that's a match.
It was a bit surprising in the series that we were involved with, one of the greatest test matches we've seen at Lord's. You'll surely remember.
Yeah.
And in that test match, I think Jussie was bouncing it off at Anderson.
Yeah.
And it became a little personal. And I mean, there have been instances in the past where we've taken it as well. We've popped it and we've responded.
Yeah.
And sometimes I feel it's been taken out of context and they get a little alienated towards us. Is that a fair assumption, Ravi?
It is, but nothing wrong in that. What's wrong in that? You've got a bat in your hand. There's no that rule. Tail enders. You shouldn't. Then declare the innings. No.
Yeah, we've done that once.
Like Mission did that in Jamaica. If it gets hot in the kitchen, you don't want to be there. Then stay inside. Not declare. Your fingers are fine. Everything is fine. You can bowl as much as you want, so that you're not injured. This day and age. And forget spirit. I believe in rules. You monkered a guy. It is rules. There's a rule book. Observe the damn rules. We'll talk about the spirit later.
What is spirit of the game?
A guy running 2 steps ahead on his
not fair.
That's he should warn me. For what warn? The rule says you're cheating. I hate warning. It bails off straight away on your bike now. I said the rule book, page 33. See, Hey, no, it's there. So don't crib. It's there. Don't whinge and moan after the bloody event. It's there. It's for everyone to read. It's same for both teams. So why are you making a noise about it if you're found out?
So it is a bit convenient. And that's why it is amazing to have this man. What he speaks is what you get. Ravi, getting into the final segment. This is a segment where I actually genuinely think first time I can get the better of you. Because here otherwise I've been totally under pressure and been in awe of listening to you. So that takes us to the next round, which is DRS with Ash, brought to you by Probo. Ravi, you said DRS. You quite like DRS yourself as a coach.
Yeah. From day one, I've had my reservations, especially on the tracking.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've had my reservations because I need more powers to the umpire. It's good. Technology is good. It's brought a lot of fairness as well. But a lot of things like your umpire's call and all that, I think if it hits the stumps, it should be out. And you will see umpires then being braver and making more decisions as the way they see it.
The game could hasten up. Is that okay?
That's fine. So a ball's hitting the stumps. Nothing wrong in that. And I think the way technology is going, the umpires are getting more and more conservative. They know what's there at the back and they can get away with. As opposed to in our times where a Dickie Bird or a Douglas Sangu or, even in our country, a Kortoskar or a Ramaswamy or a reporter were rated as top-class umpires because, they gave decisions as they saw it. Not everyone's 100%.
Pillu reporter is your favorite umpire, isn't he?
Oh, Pillu was good. Pillu was, he was good. We could put him under pressure at times. But Phils was a good man. When I used to get bored with sometimes when wickets wouldn't fall, then I've always had a chat with him.
You got your way with him?
Sometime. Sometime.
I'm going to give you the option to take a DRS here. You've gone through an illustrious career as a player, as a commentator, as a coach, as a broadcaster at the IPL, and this is an IPL special. So if I give you an opportunity to review 2 decisions or events that have happened, maybe on the field where you've broadcasted or while you've coached, could be anything. You have to review 2 of those events and say what you would have liked to have happened in those.
Can you give me an example?
Like, for example, if you won, as a coach, you won the toss and you batted first and you want to go back to that moment and say, okay, no, I should have bowled first. Something like that.
Oh, yeah.
Life-making decision or something like that.
Many times. Many times. And it's not just as a broadcaster. I saw it in this World Cup final. This year's World Cup final, when Australia won the toss. From the broadcasting perspective. And when Paddy said, I'm fielding, I said, inside, what a fabulous decision.
Yes?
Yes, absolutely in my mind. And I remember going on air, doing the first 3 balls. It was, I think, with Ricky and myself and somebody else there. And I said very clearly, I think it's a good decision. Because I thought that was Australia's best chance of winning. Because the track was slow. And if they had batted first, they wouldn't have been able to play the way they did. And they could have been found out. India could have been chasing a smaller score. But it was a brave decision in a final. Because not many, you spoke to anyone in the media or this thing, they said, oh, I should have batted first. It has its pros and cons, but deep inside I thought, a terrific decision. It's happened many times in a test match in Johannesburg, in a test match in Melbourne, where we batted first.
Yes.
That time I was a coach where everyone said, are you mad? You guys mad? Look at the grass there and how it looks. And the results, come in our way. So, there are a few times.
I'm going to give you one example, Ravi. Manchester, 2019, the World Cup semi-final. One opportunity to turn something back again. What would that be?
Well, first thing, the weather. It didn't rain. If it didn't rain, we were through. Because we did all the hard work. If anything, I would have said probably not changing players or anything with the ammunition you had.
No, whatever was there.
Whatever was there would be you're starting afresh and just be a little positive in your mindset when you go out initially. Don't play for the waiting game.
Felt we were a bit cautious.
A little cautious. A little cautious, and it happens with any team because the whole momentum has changed. So it's only natural. We're a little more, missing it could have been there. 2-3 times, like even the World Test Championship. I thought that on that last day, sixth day, I thought in hindsight, we could never have lost that game. That should have been drawn, to say the least.
Another 50 runs we might have, or maybe a chance here, Williamson's LBW.
Yeah, that happens, but that's okay.
Right, Ravi Bhai? And it's been wonderful so far, but 5 quick ones, Ravi Bhai. Got questions for you. I'll give you multiple choice options as well. And you can obviously think, we can discuss it. I'll also try and enable it. In the first question coming your way is, in the first edition of the IPL in 2008, do you remember how many icon players were there? The options are 4, 5, 6, and 7.
Tendulkar was one. Lakshman was another. Kumble was not a mentor. Rahul would be 3. So Sachin, Rahul, Lakshman, MS.
MS was picked in the auction, but you're missing someone. 4, 5, 6, 7. You can just give me a number and then we can...
Delhi Sehwag. Yeah. Calcutta Ganguly. Yeah. Just these I remember.
No, not... Just give me a number. Number of players who I can...
Oh.
Like that. 4, 5 or
4.
6, 7. It's just 5. You missed it by a number. Sachin, Ganguly, Rahul, Lakshman was offered it, but he didn't take it. Sehwag and Yuvraj Singh for Kings 11.
Yuvraj. as a mentor and player. He was the youngest probably of the lost. Yeah.
The icon players were handed over. I think Lakshman didn't take it over Hyderabad. Who's got the second question, Ravi? Who's got the most runs in a single IPL season? I think you will knock this.
Virat.
Yes, it is Virat Kohli. I didn't have to give the options. Question number 3, Ravi. Who was the costliest overseas player in the inaugural IPL auction? Overseas player. He was the only $1 million man in that auction. Your options are Adam Gilchrist, Shane Watson, Andrew Simons, and Sanath Jayasuriya.
I would go with you said Adam
Gilchrist, Watson, Simons, and Jayasuriya.
Gilchrist.
It's Andrew Simons, Ravi.
Simons.
$1.35 million.
Hyderabad. The charges.
Question number 4, Ravi. Just 2 more. How many different captains has Mumbai Indians had in their history before the 2024 season? We leave Hardik Pandya out of it. 6, 8, 9, 7.
I'll go with the least 6 because they won 5 titles.
The answer is 8.
Wow.
Sachin, Rohit, Harbhajan, Bravo, Sky, Pollard, Sean Pollock, and Ricky Ponting.
That's because of injuries.
Kyron Pollard captain when Rohit got injured. It was against us when I was playing for Kings.
Season.
That was the only off-grid captain. But Ricky was a captain when Rohit took over. Yes. Last and final question, Ravi. How many centurions has Mumbai Indians seen in the IPL history? Who are they, if you can name? Or I'll just take how many? 4, 6, 8, 7.
Rohit, definitely in Calcutta. Sanath would have got 100 playing for Mumbai. Pollard, who else?
It's actually a really tough question, Ravi.
Yeah.
It's really a tough question.
These 2, I remember.
Yeah, it's actually, the answer is 6.
6.
Jayasuriya, Sachin, Rohit, Sky, Cameron Green, which happened last
year.
And the one really tough one was Lendl Simmons.
Oh.
He came in as a replacement player and got it.
Yeah.
I must say, this has been easily one of the toughest questions at Ravi.
Yeah, Jesus.
No, you're going to...
Yeah, I would have needed a Mohandas Menon here. Hiding here and giving me...
No, I mean, it was supposed to be to give you options, but I thought this question set was really bad. The guy who did the questions, tough. He made it really tough for you. Anyway, thank you so much, Ravi Bhai.
Pleasure.
For all your wonderful answers, and I really enjoyed it, I must admit.
Pleasure.
My apparel sponsor has decided to give you a gift hamper.
Abdiya.
Yes, Thank you. Thank you so much, Ravi Bhai.
Pleasure.
And that brings us to a wrap on today's episode of Kutti Stories with Ash, brought to you by Peter Engand.